This workflow runs and connecting the workflow run to the Power app that invoked it. So what you can see I've got here is the Power app, the Canvas app, which has a test rig on it, and all I'm going to do is run the flow here, and there's a checkbox which will tell it to either run successfully or it's an error, and that will go through the workflow. Let's go through a demo and it'll do that and it'll show us the response. So first of all, I'm going to run a failure. I click run a flow, and you can see it's given me a status of 2, which means it failed. If I now click it and I say, yep, I want it to be successful, you see workflow status 1, so it's been successful. Okay, so if we come back into the edit mode, let's just quickly have a look at the screen and how I coded it. So the first thing that I'm doing is I'm running the workflow here, and I'm telling it a value of 1 to be true or false, whether I want it to be successful. And then what I'm doing is I'm collecting this in a collection, and it's called call error. And what I'm doing is I'm going and grabbing the first value out of the collection, and I'm saying if the code equals 1, it's been successful. If the code equals 2, it's been unsuccessful. And you'll see that when we go into the diagnostics for each of those instances in a second. And I'd say whether it failed, and I log it, and then I also use this custom dimensions trace. So the trace obviously has the error message. Then we can tell it what type. So in this case, it's information, whereas when it fails, it's an error. Next up is the third part of this is you can go and give it the custom dimensions, which is great. That's how we're going to connect them. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, these are some custom properties. I'm giving it the workflow ID so that I can go and query on this. In log analytics, I'm going to say whether it's an error or not, and I'm going to go and say, give me the correlation ID of this call, which I'm going to get from the header of the workflow. Okay, let's go look at the workflow. If I look at the workflow, it's called a log workflow, which you've already seen. I'm going to edit mode. These are the last 2 runs that were successful. The one before wasn't. So let's go into the previous one and look at the failure. So here's my workflow. Let's open it up a little bit. So you can see what I'm doing is I'm coming in here and I'm saying, no, it failed. And when I go to the condition down the bottom here, you can see, yep, it's worked out that it's failed. So I go and send the response.